Hey, everybody, welcome to the St. Pete Soul podcast. I'm your host, Brittany Renew. I am excited to have one of the owners here today, Keegan Climo of Huggers Food Truck. So this is a food truck concept that he started with his mom, Phyllis, and it's in the loving memory of his grandfather, Joe Gagliardo. So Keegan, I'm really excited to have you on and hear your
No,
story.
thank you. I'm happy to
Welcome.
be here. Appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, so
Yeah.
the food truck's been a long time coming. Absolutely. It's been on my mind for years now. He kind of planted the seed for a while, and it's just kind of been sitting there simmering, and we've got some buddies of mine, and we all like cooking, and it just kept coming up in conversation. So I figured maybe this might be what I'm supposed to do, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like those are the best ideas when they just kind of like stay with you for a long
Yeah.
time and you're just like, no, I'm not ready. And then finally you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I can't
Just kind of
ignore
had to
this
give into
anymore.
it a little bit.
Yeah. So okay, so I would love to hear like a little bit about your background. Like, are you from St. Pete originally? Just
I
kind of
am. I
give us a
am.
little
Yeah,
in
yeah.
there.
So 28 years old. I was born in Clearwater, but been raised in St. Pete my whole life. So I've stuck around and I plan on sticking around. I love it here. I absolutely do. St. Pete's an amazing city. I've seen it change so much over the years as well.
Yeah, definitely someone who's lived here. You've definitely seen all the
Yeah, yeah.
changes.
And as a kid, I used to ride my bike everywhere. So I've been like in the little nooks and crannies that most people don't see things. And, there's all kinds of stuff everywhere that just is totally changed from what it used to be. But for the better, absolutely for the better.
Yeah. Yeah. Why do you love St. Pete so much?
I love St. Pete because it's just there's a little bit of everything. No matter what you're looking for, I feel like you can find it here. And if you can't find it here in St. Pete, you don't have to go very far to get what you're looking for.
Hmm.
So I like
Absolutely.
I like being in the city. Everything kind of close by. There's a lot of different activities for you, but I also enjoy being able to get away. And it's not more than just maybe a couple of hour drive. You get out and see some really beautiful nature. You can go down and see Mayaca. You can go up to Ginny Springs, for example. There's a lot of stuff around here that St. Pete's just very central to.
Yeah, absolutely. So what about like what's your past careers? Like what were you doing before you started the food truck?
So I was into cars. I'm still into cars, and that kind
Okay.
of led me into a mechanical career, working at some dealerships and different shops and whatnot. And from there, I ended up working for a company called Lockheed Martin. It's a military company basically. We do a bunch of different technologies and stuff like that, and it was just it bored me being in the same four walls every day for those last 3 years that I was there. So. But yeah, I've been really
Yeah.
mechanical minded. I love tinkering with things, but yeah, I also love cooking. So that it was time for a change and get out of there.
Yeah, I think a lot of entrepreneurs, you hear that same kind of story of like I was doing this, I was tired of doing the same old thing, or like being in the same four walls, being in a cubicle.
Right.
So there's like a freedom there to be able to do what you've always wanted to.
Absolutely.
So that's really
Yeah,
cool.
during Hurricane Irma, I got a taste of a little bit of, kind of freedom of working my own jobs. I was working at one of the shops, and the boss basically went away for Hurricane Irma and didn't come back for a few weeks. So none of us had any work, and I was like, well, my bills can't wait on him to come back, basically. So there was a good opportunity for me to get out there and do some fence work. I know I had some neighbors through my grandfather Joe, and they needed fences put up. And at first I started doing it for free just to help them out. Elderly neighbors, it's kind of just what you do. And they were tipping me more than what I thought it was worth to do the job. And I was like, man, they're telling me that I helped them save more than they've given me. There's got to be something here to make. So I started doing just odd jobs like that for a little while, and I kept myself busy for quite a few months, and that kind of gave me my taste of entrepreneurship right there at the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a cool introduction to it for
Yeah, yeah, it
sure.
was almost kind of accidental.
Sometimes that's the best thing that
Right,
happens,
right.
right?
Yeah, it worked out for the better, I think.
So, yeah. Okay, so share share a little bit about kind of like why was this why was this food truck idea so near and dear to your heart, and like how does that tie into to your grandfather and his story?
So I basically grew up in his restaurants. Grandpa had a couple of restaurants throughout St. Petersburg area, and I grew up in those. I really only remember one of them because I was so young. There's no chance of me remembering the other ones. But just a lot of memories in the restaurant. Always, growing up in an Italian household, that was just always the culture was family, food, love, and it was just all it's like ingrained in my past basically. So
Yeah.
especially the idea of basically being his from the get-go. Um, it's like that's why it's near and dear to my heart, I think, is just because it's just how I grew up. It's just how family always was. It's the reason everybody got together was around food. And I just started to realize that, that's one of the things that makes me happy is when I can cook for people and they enjoy the food. It's just more fulfilling than going somewhere and getting a paycheck, for a regular 9 to 5 job. If I can cook for somebody that makes them happy, it makes me happy. I feel like 95% of people, good food makes them happy. So
Yes. I think food's a love language for most
absolutely.
people. I mean, that's definitely like my husband and I, we travel, we look for places to have good food. And then that's another cool thing about St. Pete, lots of good
There's
food
so much
here.
good food here in
So,
St. Pete.
yeah. So, so when was your grandfather's restaurants? Like, when did they close down? What was kind of the timeline of that?
Oh, I was probably 15. Wow, maybe even earlier than that. 13 maybe. Goodness,
Hmm.
I couldn't tell you. It was so long ago. I could tell you he started in 1983, and I may have
Okay.
somewhere between maybe 10 and 15, honestly, when he closed down. So it was a
Okay.
good portion of my life that I was in that circle of all of his restaurant business and being in there and learning from him, basically. A lot of us grew up in the restaurants, actually. My mom worked in the restaurants. A lot of the family worked in the restaurants. So. But yeah,
Yes.
they were definitely a pillar to what kind of built me up to want to run this food truck.
Yeah. So were you like when you were working in the restaurant, was it like cooking, prep work, or like waiting
So I
tables, or
I
like
didn't
what?
work. I was too young. I
Okay.
was just there messing
Okay.
things up for everybody and getting on people's nerves.
So you were just watching.
Yep,
You're seeing it
yep,
all
playing
happen.
around, doing what little kids do.
Gotcha. Well, you must have like by osmosis, you must have gotten some
100%.
learned some
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. And I used to spend a lot of time with my grandfather as well because after school and middle school and stuff, I would go over to his house. We lived right across the street from each other, my mom and my grandfather. And I would go over there so he could watch me after school. And he would cook for me, and I'd see him cooking dinner, and I'd learn a couple of things from him. And it really is just something that became ingrained into my memory.
That's so cool. So why was doing this food truck so important to you? Like how is that? How do you feel like that's kind of carried on his legacy?
Well, besides the fact that we kind of stole his entire name and all of that, like I said earlier, it being his idea and just knowing that at one point in time he wanted me to do that. And it would have been something that, I guess as I got older, I realized that, Grandpa eventually was going to pass away like he did. And I would have had that business and not realizing that as such a child, I guess at the time, a teenager, um, getting older now, I'm like, wow, it makes a lot of sense, and the food trucks are getting big anyways right now. So he was kind of maybe a little bit of ahead of his time in thinking that we should have opened a food truck because they're everywhere now. You can't drive a couple blocks without seeing a food truck somewhere. So
Yeah.
it is
No, that's interesting to hear that he was like thinking about that idea so
Yeah, he
early.
was. He was. There was probably a couple of them here and there, but they were just so far and few between when he was even bringing it up, which is probably another reason why I didn't think it was that great of an idea for me to do as a teenager, is because where do you see a food truck, But we could have
Yeah.
spearheaded that movement.
You're like, you're crazy. What are you
Exactly. Yeah.
talking about?
What teenager wants to work for grandpa on some sweaty bus? So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's often how it works. We get older and then we look back and we think, "Oh yeah, that was that was a great opportunity. That was cool, and and he was cool."
Yep,
So,
yeah, Grandpa was awesome. Yeah, definitely would have been a
yeah.
great time to do it with him, but um, I know he's looking down now and kind of sees the progress we're making with it. I know he would be proud for sure.
Oh,
We
that's
actually
really
we
special.
keep a photo of him, clothes lined up to our little ticket holder in the kitchen. So he's always there watching me cook.
Oh, there you go. That's so cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So do you feel like do your customers kind of understand, that that's part of the passion, and like the legacy of him of being a part of the restaurant?
If they haven't heard of it, from his restaurants, probably not so much. But if they visit social media or if they see us online somewhere, we have our bio out there, and you can kind of read the story and go through it. That we do have some people though that will, for example, I was walking through with this T-shirt, my Huggers T-shirt, and a lady at the cash register stopped me, and she was like, "Oh, nice T-shirt. I haven't seen that in a while," and it blew my mind because, it's half of my lifetime away that the restaurant even existed. So for the people to even remember
Yeah,
it actually blows my mind.
that's cool. Well, but that's awesome that you kept the name.
Yeah, yeah.
So, so was it like Hugger's Restaurant? Was that like
So
the original name?
it was Hugger's Spitfire Grill. Yep. Hugger's
Okay.
Char Royal, Hugger's Spitfire Grill.
Okay. And how many restaurants did he have?
So there was at one time there was only one restaurant, but I, I think
Okay.
he had, three or four different restaurants in the area, some before my time even,
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah, he
Very
started all
cool.
that, I believe, 11 years before I was even born. So,
Okay. Yeah. Do you know like where the Huggers name came from?
um, my understanding is that I can't remember if it was his mother or grandmother, but so Huggers, the logo, our logo is flames basically coming up from a Spitfire grill, basically a little charbroiler.
Mhm.
But the old one it's a teddy bear, and it's just, I guess it's just I don't know. He liked the teddy bears that he was getting as a kid, and it kind of became the name and the logo of the restaurant. It's Huggers, and it's like it, the food, like it's hugged by the
Mhm.
food, I guess. Not exactly
Yeah.
what it means,
Comfort
but it's
comfort
just
food. Yeah.
exactly comfort food, exactly.
Very cool. So what about like the recipes? Is with what y'all are doing now, is there some recipes that you kind of carried over or talk a little bit about the food?
There are some, yeah. So of course we've got all of Grandfather's old cookbooks and recipes and every snippet that he ever cut out of something to give him inspiration and all his scribble marks through stuff that he changed. We've got all of those books. And we have a couple of dishes right now that we incorporate into the food truck, the Rasta pasta, and we have his mojo pork basically. And those are two of the top sellers that we've got at the moment. And
Hmm.
he's also got, he's got a Hugger burger, and the Hugger burger is absolutely out of this world. Um, there's a sauce that we use that goes on that burger, and I'm not at liberty to tell anybody what that sauce is, but it's absolutely
Secret.
delicious. If you hadn't had it, you got to try it. Um, it'll blow you away for sure. You never taste a burger like it. But yeah, we've got his
Oh,
recipes. In the future, we would like to, pull some more of those and roll them onto the food truck. But just being so limited with the amount of space that we have on the truck, it's impossible to basically, we can't take 10 of his complex items and put them on the truck at the same time.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Is so burgers, some like pasta, mojo pork, is that
Yeah.
kind of the sounds like some comfort food, maybe some American classics mixed in with some different, you know, type of things.
Absolutely, American classic. So the thing with his restaurant was it was a lot of grilled, steak sandwiches, steaks, chicken,
Hmm.
burgers, and stuff like that. And it's a lot of there wasn't anything that was very, what would you call like culture specific, but just kind of American food. But it's all delicious. It's all
Yeah.
delicious. And a lot of the
It sounds like
a
it.
lot of the recipes that we have from him were, more than likely things that people that went to his restaurant never had because they were dishes that he would cook for us back at home.
Mm,
So all the things that we got to
okay.
enjoy growing up and his genuine recipes that he just came up with, whipping stuff up in the kitchen.
Oh, that's cool. That's really special.
It is, it is.
Um, well, I'd love to switch gears a little bit and just kind of hear like from getting the business started with the food truck, what was that like? What did that process look like for you?
Uh, Stressful. Just because I wanted to leave my job so badly, but obviously without the comfort of having something else to make money with, I couldn't. And we found another food truck to begin with before we ended up with the one that we've got now. And there were some things that it needed. There was some repairs and whatnot, and it just wasn't looking like it was going to happen in the time frame that we needed it to happen in. And we were both, my mom and I, were so eager to get the business going that we ended up kind of scrapping the idea of that food truck. And somehow miracle, I just went on, Facebook Marketplace of all things, and there was a food truck, and it was beautiful. I was like, wow, that's kind of a decent price. It looks good. And 2 days later, we bought it. It just happened to work out that way. But the food truck idea has been an idea for a long time now. And I had some friends and I that were going to kind of go through with the food truck idea. Fortunately, you know how business ventures with friends go. They don't always work out, and it didn't. So here I am, but that's all right. We ended up making it happen, and it's probably been since I like really, really was thinking about like, yes, I'm going to open a food truck. It's probably been over a year and a half, maybe closer to two
Mhm.
years since the idea really started to bloom in my head. But as far as getting the truck up and running goes, um, depending on what kind of truck you buy and what kind of shape it's in, it can be pretty quick. We got lucky and we bought a turnkey business, and all I had to do was basically clean it up and fill it full of groceries, get the paperwork done, make sure that the state gets their taxes, and we're good to go. Didn't take too long at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, how does it work for you to find your like locations to be at to serve for a day or a week or however you plan that out?
So luckily, my mom is great at networking, and her being an entrepreneur and a business owner, she has come across a lot of people that also own their own businesses. And luckily, we've just gotten invited to things. We find random things. It's not too difficult to kind of see this stuff if you pay attention on social media. There's a lot of advertisement for different events that go around, and we'll
Mhm.
kind of just keep things in mind and say, hey, like if this is a monthly thing, maybe we reach out to them. Um, but a lot of it, like I said, has just been chance encounters with people that we know or have some sort of acquaintance with that hear that we have a food truck and they invite us out to either a bar or an event or anything like that. And it hasn't been very hard to find somewhere to go and sell food, luckily.
Yeah. Is that something like as far as your schedule, is it a daily thing or is it just on the weekends? What does that look like?
Right now it's not. It's we'll do some things, maybe 1 or 2 days during the week and then 1 or 2 days during the weekend. I've been
Okay.
off for Thanksgiving and I've also got another project that I'm working on as well between the times that I'm on the food truck. So I'm kind of trying to, it's not quite a business yet, but I'm balancing sort of two
Mhm.
things at once right now. But eventually I
Okay.
would like to get to the point to where the food truck is running every day of the week. Maybe not 7 days. It's tough setup and break down and all that. It takes time, and you got to
Yeah.
have time to prep your food and whatnot. So it can be tough to run
Yeah.
every single day.
And you're driving it to the location,
Correct.
like it's not like a brick and mortar business that's just there.
Exactly.
Lock
Yep.
it, lock
Yep.
it.
There's a lot of prep work that goes into it. I've got to bring my own electricity. I have to bring my own water. I have to bring all of my food and all that has to stay cold when I'm not there. So the truck's got to get shipped back to its home every night. Got to drive that thing around,
Yeah.
take time to get places. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun actually, kind of driving around, all the looks that I get from people when I'm on my way to a different spot.
They're like, wait,
Yeah,
come
yeah.
back. I want some.
That's it.
So what's your favorite like setup? Is it the like being at a brewery or a bar, or do you like the events?
You know what? As far as my favorite goes, my favorite, I guess, would have to be what makes money. And you know,
It's fair.
it's a lot of the events and whatnot. You know, I'm sure if we were in more of a routine where we could basically advertise that we were going to be at the same place all the time, it might be a little easier to
Hmm.
get some regular customers that frequent certain bars or different places that we would go. Um, but to be honest, like about what I really like, I like all of it because it's the boredom that I talked about with being in the same four walls of work every single day. Um, this gives me the freedom to be somewhere new every time I go somewhere to serve food. And I think that's really what I love about all of it. So I don't really have a favorite place. My favorite place would just be on the truck somewhere different.
Yeah, just serving, cooking, serving food,
Right.
which is like sounds like it's your passion.
Yep.
So how many like is it just you and your mom, or do you have some other staff? Like, what does that
Yeah,
look
no,
like?
so no employees right now. It's just mom and I, and we have a really great friend of my cousin's, also a friend of my mom and mine. And we all, the three of us, get together. We'll go. We're basically all working for food right now. You know, we're getting fed, but that's just what happens when a business grows. So she comes
Yeah.
out, she'll take orders for us. Mom will help me with the food in the kitchen and whatnot, and you know, I'll be in there cooking with mom. So, but it's really close
Well,
family friend situation.
yeah, I was gonna say that's it's like it's that family aspect again, you're carrying on this family theme from your grandfather and what his restaurants were about. So you're able to do that, with your food truck and it's your family there together. So that's really
Right.
cool.
Yeah, no, it really is awesome. And especially our first event that we had was down at Oktoberfest at St. Pete Pier. And it was really fun because we had so many family members come out and just, you know, friends of the family that came out to support us and wanted to hop on the truck for even just a couple of minutes to come help out with stuff. So I think we had like a rotating crew of like five people or something just coming in the truck to see how it was going and what was going on with it. So maybe I'll recruit some of them to come help me out sometime.
Yeah. Well, so what would be like your favorite, what's one of your favorite recipes?
Um, Honestly, the simplicity of the Hugger Burger,
Mhm.
it's just it's so good. I don't get a burger like it anywhere else. Of course, I would say it's my favorite because I make it or because it was Grandpa's, but the flavor is just there. You know, you can't go somewhere else and get a burger like that. He's got a onion sauce that he made, and it's a hot dog thing. It's something you find in New York.
Mhm.
You know, them being from New York. So Grandpa recreated the red onion sauce that you find in the hot dog carts up there, and I really
Mhm.
enjoy throwing that on a like a bacon cheeseburger, and it's just out of this world, out of this world.
Okay. I am regretting doing this podcast interview while being hungry
Yeah,
because you're making
it's so good.
warning to anyone that's listening, don't be hungry.
Yeah, yeah. That and I would say the Rasta pasta really is something else. That's been one of my favorites for a long, long time now. Even back when I was working at the dealerships and whatnot, I we would have little potlucks and stuff for all the technicians and the service people to bring food, and everybody would get together at the middle of the day and have a big potluck for all of us around the holiday times. And Grandpa would make one of those big 25-pound containers of Rasta pasta, and it would fly out of the container, you know. So it's always been a
Yeah.
favorite for everyone that's tried it, and the same for myself.
Is that like a pasta salad type
No, so
thing or
it's like a creamy like chicken pasta. It's got, you know,
okay.
loaded with vegetables and flavor, chicken, mushrooms, peppers, onions, all
Mhm.
kinds of good stuff.
That sounds amazing.
It really is, yeah. I'm sure we've got some pictures up online when we're done here. You'll have to go torture yourself a little bit and look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you maybe kind of already answered this, but I'd love to ask, like, what's your favorite thing? Like, what's your favorite thing about having this business? Like, what's that kind of motivator and get you out of bed?
You know, my mom is an investor, obviously, with being grandfather's restaurant and everything. And
Mhm.
it's just the pride that I can take in working with family, for family, And, hopefully there's a point in the near future where the business is making enough money to where I can help her out with retirement. Not that she's going to need it because she has her own business, but just to be able to kind of put money back into the family that has, she's helped me out so much growing up that this is kind of my turn to give back to her a little bit, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And again, that family
Yep,
theme is
yep, it
there.
really
So that's
is. It
really
really
cool.
is.
Yeah. So I would love to hear, maybe some visions for the future. Like what would be like, how do you see this business growing or evolving in years to come?
So I would like to eventually I would like to have a brick and mortar restaurant, and I've got a
Hmm.
buddy of mine that we're like brothers. He's a chef. He's a really good chef as well. Um, and it's kind of gotten thrown around between us. So this food truck thing kind of works out for me because it's a way for me to get more into the business side of things and see how a business is run. Where I'm sure a restaurant and a food truck are two completely different, entities. Um, but there's got to be some similarities between the two of them. So this is kind of going to be a stepping stone for me. Um, the food truck is great. If it does great, I will keep doing it as long as I can. But it's like I said, a stepping stone for me. I'd like to take it and grow. I don't want a fleet of food trucks per se, but if something ended up coming along where I could have multiple, I probably would. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, eventually to have a real restaurant would be the end goal. I'd like to I'd like to use this as a sort of lesson in my life to build me up to something bigger.
So if you did have a brick and mortar restaurant, would you keep the name and like kind of continue on with that? Or do you think it would be like a totally different concept at
I
that point?
really don't know. That's a great question, actually. It's something I really haven't thought of. Um, It depends on what the concept of the restaurant would be totally, because I'm not sure, I'm not sure it would be the same as Grandpa's restaurant. My
Hmm.
buddy's Italian. I grew up Italian. We might try to do some kind of Italian thing or Italian market. So I really don't know. We might do something to kind of, set it apart from other things that we've done and make something different for itself. But
Yeah.
it's those ideas aren't quite that far thought through yet.
Yeah. Hey, they're dreams. That's what it's
Absolutely.
for.
Everything starts with one.
Yeah, exactly. So what's a typical day look like for you when the food truck's going to be out ready for business? What does that day look
Uh,
like prep wise for
Busy,
you?
very busy. There is a lot more work that goes into running a food truck than I think most people would think.
Mhm.
It starts off, days before the event, going to grab items, and you've got to basically, if you don't have inventory on hand, you've got to go get it. And once you get that inventory, you have to break things down. And as it is right now, not having any employees, it's me that does all of it. It's my mom. It's the two of us basically. Um, we get on the food truck and we're prepping stuff before the truck even leaves the storage facility. And there's a lot of work that goes into it, but it's fulfilling. It's very fulfilling work. So it's imagine a night cooking in the kitchen times 100 people's worth of food, and that's what a day looks like prepping for the food truck. It can be pretty
Yeah.
hectic, but in the end, it's worth it for sure.
So what time, like how many hours of prep before you were actually open would that be typically?
Um, Really, we only need a couple hours of setup. So if I'm doing a small menu, if I'm doing like the pasta and the burgers and the pork and whatnot, that stuff, the pasta and the pork, we don't cook those to order because as pasta takes a while. We batch that stuff.
Hmm.
So that would get done depending on the time of the event, either the day of or the day before. And
Yeah.
everything else is pretty quick. If we're doing cheeseburgers, I can weigh those out right on hand. I cook those to order. Everything's no frozen meat. It's all fresh ground beef. We hand form our patties on the truck every single time we cook a cheeseburger for somebody. So that gets done right then and there. No, it's beautiful, honestly.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I
cool.
would say though,
Um,
if I were to have an event around 6 o'clock in the evening, 6 to 10, let's say, um, I'd
Hmm.
probably be on the food truck sorting things out by, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. There's a lot of things to
Yeah.
account for. You need gas for the truck, you need gas for the generator, you need propane if you don't have enough of it already. You need to fill the water tanks and whatnot. You got to empty your water tanks at the end of the night, but if you don't take care of that, there's a lot of things that go into it. But as far as the real heavy prep work goes, a lot of it's just cutting vegetables and portioning out, different meats and whatnot for when you're going to cook them.
Yeah. Well, and if it's more you and your mom and maybe one other person, then yeah, it's, you don't have an assembly line of like five
Right,
people doing that
right.
for you.
It's not Panera Bread where you get there at 6 o'clock in the morning and somebody's prepping bags of chicken for different sandwiches. It doesn't work like that on the food truck.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe one day when you have another restaurant, you
Absolutely.
might get
Yeah,
there.
yeah. We'll have to streamline things a little bit for sure.
Yeah. Cool. Well, so I love to kind of finish with some fun
Okay.
questions. So, if you have a night out, what's your favorite place to go?
Oh, a night out for me, honestly. Everybody enjoys, going to the bars and whatnot, but I really enjoy being anywhere downtown St. Petersburg. Taking a walk on the pier,
Hmm.
it's beautiful. Go out there and looking back at the city from the top of the pier. Just, it's absolutely beautiful. I love my city, I really do. I love being here. So just anything in St. Petersburg, but there aren't many nights out for me anymore because I'm trying to not spend a bunch of money. But when I do, I just like to spend it with the people that mean the most to me. Going to get some good food, maybe grab a drink somewhere downtown, and just enjoying my time calmly.
Yeah, try decompress.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. Everything else is so fast on the food truck. I like to just be able to kind of slow down a little bit and take it easy.
Yeah. Well, so like, what's one of your favorite restaurants to eat at? Since I mean, you're in that line of work now.
Man, oh, that is a tough question, honestly. Um, a favorite restaurant to eat at? Wow. It's
Well, and
like
if you can't name just one, you can
I was
give a
gonna say,
couple. It's all
how it
right.
is when somebody asks you what your favorite song is, and all of a sudden you've never heard a single song in your life. You can't remember anything. Um, yeah, I love. I really like to cook for myself because a lot of things I can't get out somewhere else. But if I had to give a couple of restaurants, we enjoy going down to Tropez on
Mhm.
Central, I believe it is.
Yep.
Tropez is awesome. Um, there's Roca over in Tampa, beautiful, beautiful restaurant. Um, really good places around St. Petersburg, man. So many of them.
No
There's so
pressure.
many
It's
of them.
okay.
Bella
All
Brava,
good.
that's a classic. Grandpa, mom, and myself
Yeah.
always end up at Bella Brava at some point.
Hmm. All right. So, what about your favorite pizza place?
Favorite pizza place.
Yes.
Okay, so that I can be pretty specific with. There are two, I think, and it kind of depends on what kind of pizza I'm looking for. And if I'm just going to order a pizza for delivery, I think I would call Old Northeast Pizza. Delicious, good pizza. Um, I wouldn't say there's anything special about it. It's just the fact that it's a good pizza that I like. That
Yep.
and I like Bavaro's. I do like Bavaro's. It's a totally different type of pie. You go out there and you get their real, brick oven pizza. So
Yeah. Well, it's funny when I ask about pizza because I get so many different responses from people.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm always interested to hear.
yeah. There's a million pizza places around as well.
But people usually have a pretty firm opinion
Yep,
on it. So,
yep.
yeah. All right. So, last question. When you do get a day off, what's your favorite thing to do?
Oh man, I really enjoy being out on a boat. I've got some friends that we end up on a boat sometimes, or going out to a river, and planning a little day trip with some of my friends and whatnot. Those would be how I spend my time off. But other than those two, um, I like to spend time at home with my dog, just hanging out and taking it easy.
That sounds wonderful.
It is my little best friend. She's over there itchy scratching right now, actually.
Oh. What kind of dog do you
I've got a
have?
little pit bull, and she's actually got quite the story as well. She uh, she was found across the street. Oh, you coming to say hi? You were talking about you. Um,
Oh,
she was found across the street from my mom's house, actually, in the gutter, like in the sewer underneath the parking lot. Yeah, yeah.
whoa.
She, I guess, was in the water and came up from the seawall, somehow got into a drainage pipe, and my mom saw the commotion of all the firefighters pulling the drain, the cover off of the top of the drainage system, and we basically followed her to um, figure out what her story was and whether she had a home or not. And probably a week throughout, like the middle of COVID, I'm calling the SPCA and showing up to their front door every day, and I couldn't see her or get any information. And one day I was on my
Hmm.
way over there. They knew that I would kept coming back for her, so they called me and they were like, "We have a line of people here at the door. If you don't get here, we can't guarantee that somebody else won't take her." And I was like, "I'm like 5 minutes
Oh,
away. I'll be there. I'll be there super soon. Hold on. Let me grab her. Come here. Come here.
that's such a great
Come here.
story.
That's my
Oh,
buddy.
so
That's my buddy right there.
precious.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
she's adorable.
man.
Yes, dogs are wonderful. We don't
I
deserve them,
know.
I don't think.
Seriously. She's awesome.
Yeah. I've got two golden retrievers in my
Oh,
house, so
beautiful. I love the golden retrievers.
yeah. Awesome. Well, so tell everybody how, like, what's the best way they can find you
Yeah,
online,
yeah.
find out like where your food truck is and stuff like that.
Online, absolutely. Either Facebook or Instagram. If we post on one of them, we post on the other one, so they both coincide with each other. You can find us at Huggers Food Truck. It's Huggers Food Truck, and yeah, just keep an eye out for any posts that we have there, and follow us around St. Pete and the surrounding areas.
Awesome. Well, this has been a great conversation. I love hearing like just your passion, and just relating it back to your grandfather. That's just such a special like connection. And I know a lot of people would probably have like some other type of story like that, and so that they would resonate
Right.
with what you're saying. So I think that's really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
And I hope that you get to share that story with your customers, because I think that just makes it extra special for them
Right.
too.
Yeah. I really do appreciate the opportunity to be on here and get to tell that story for you. It's been fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Keegan. Thanks everybody for listening and watching, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.